The arrival that changed everything. The first warning came as a whisper from the depths of space. At first, it was just a blip on Earth's deep space monitoring arrays. An anomaly, nothing more than a disturbance beyond Neptune's orbit. But within hours, the anomaly grew into a storm. Hundreds of colossal objects emerged from the void, their sleek metallic hulls reflecting the distant light of the sun. Earth's most powerful telescopes focused on them, and what they saw sent a cold chill through every command center on the planet. A fleet, a massive fleet. The United Earth Defense Command, UEDC, scrambled into action. Across the globe, alarm klaxons blared as military bases activated high-priority battle protocols. Every major world leader was immediately rushed into emergency meetings. At the heart of it all, standing in the nerve center of Earth's defenses, was Admiral Elias Carter, a man whose entire life had been dedicated to preparing for an event just like this. "How many ships?" Carter demanded, his sharp blue eyes scanning the holographic projection floating before him. His second-in-command, Colonel Helena Vasquez, adjusted her earpiece as she read the incoming data from the intelligence division. 300 confirmed capital-class vessels, sir, she said, her voice tight with restrained tension. And that's only what we can detect. There could be more hiding behind the gas giants. A ripple of silence spread through the command center. Carter let out a slow breath, his expression unreadable. "We always knew we weren't alone," he muttered. "We just didn't think they'd show up like this." Then it happened. A deep, resonating hum filled the airwaves. Every communication channel on Earth, radio, satellite, even personal devices, was hijacked. A transmission cut through the white noise of space, broadcast in perfect English. "People of Earth, we count as representatives of the Galactic Dominion. Your world has been selected for assimilation into our Confederation of Species. Prepare to receive our ambassador." The voice was smooth, almost too polished. It carried an unnatural calm, as if the speaker was already certain of the outcome. For a brief moment, the world held its breath. Then, all at once, panic erupted. Social media exploded. News stations ran emergency broadcasts. People filled the streets, watching the sky with a mixture of fear and awe. Some fell to their knees, believing this was the dawn of a new era. Others prepared for the worst. In Geneva, where Earth's first contact protocol headquarters had been established years prior, diplomats, military leaders, and scientists gathered in a fortified conference hall, awaiting the arrival of the so-called ambassador. And then he came. A small, elegant shuttle broke away from the fleet and descended toward Earth. The skies above Switzerland parted as the craft entered the atmosphere, moving with eerie precision. It landed smoothly at the Geneva First Contact Center, its dark surface gleaming under the artificial lights. The ramp extended, and he stepped out. The figure that emerged was humanoid, but only barely. His skin had a faint bluish tint, and his completely black eyes reflected no light. He wore a regal uniform, marked with alien insignias and metallic embroidery. Yet the most unsettling thing about him was not his appearance. It was his smile. He strode forward with confidence, his movements practiced, deliberate. As he reached the podium where Earth's representatives stood, he spoke with the same unnerving fluency as before. "I am Ambassador Ralzek of the Galactic Dominion," he declared, "and I bring you the future." The silence that followed was deafening. The United Nations Secretary General, an aging woman named Elena Mikhailov, stepped forward. "Ambassador Ralzek," she greeted cautiously, "you claim to represent the Dominion. What exactly does that mean for Earth?" Ralzek's smile didn't waver. "It means that your civilization has been deemed worthy of joining a greater cause. We offer you knowledge, advancement, and protection. In return, you will submit to Dominion governance and contribute to our ever-growing unity. Your place within our confederation is already secured." Mikhailov narrowed her eyes. "And if we refuse?" The ambassador's black eyes gleamed. "No world has ever refused us," he said simply. Behind him, the sky still burned with the presence of the fleet. For the first time in centuries, Earth faced an ultimatum: join or perish. The first signs of deception. While the negotiations played out in Geneva, something far more sinister was unfolding behind the scenes. Deep within Earth's cyber defense headquarters, Lieutenant Marcus Hale, one of the world's top intelligence analysts, was running an independent decryption process on the transmission from Ralzek's shuttle. At first, it had seemed like a routine check, but as Hale dug deeper, his heart began to pound. Something was off. He leaned forward, watching as lines of alien code unraveled before his eyes. The transmission wasn't just a message. It was a data pulse, an invasive signal, burrowing into Earth's global network like a parasite. His hands flew across the keyboard, isolating the intrusion before it could spread further. What he found made his blood run cold. "Sir," he called out, his voice shaking as he activated a direct link to UEDC command. "You need to see this. They're lying." Within minutes, Hale's findings reached Admiral Carter. The data told a horrific story. The Dominion wasn't here to integrate Earth. They were here to consume it. World after world had fallen under their rule, each one stripped of its resources, its people reduced to mere cogs in an intergalactic machine. The Dominion's promise of advancement was a farce. Their so-called confederation was nothing more than a slave empire in disguise. And now, Earth was next. Carter stood in the war room, his jaw clenched. The world leaders watched as the truth was laid bare before them. Images of entire planets reduced to barren wastelands filled the screens. The decision was clear. Earth would not submit. They would fight. Carter turned to his staff, his voice steady. "Send a message back to their fleet," he ordered. "Let them know that Earth is closed for business." From Geneva, Mikhailov delivered the official response. "Ambassador Ralzek, we have reviewed your offer. Earth declines to join your dominion. Furthermore, as of this moment, our solar system is off-limits to your forces." Ralzek's smile faltered, just for a fraction of a second. Then he let out a slow chuckle. "You don't understand," he said. "You don't have a choice." Behind him, in the sky, the Dominion fleet began to move. The invasion had begun, and Earth was ready. The battle for Earth begins. The declaration of defiance sent shockwaves across the world. For the first time in recorded history, humanity had stood up against an interstellar empire and said, no. The message was clear. Earth was not for sale. But the Dominion was not an empire that negotiated. It was a machine, a vast, ancient organism that had consumed thousands of civilizations before. It did not accept refusals. It only conquered. The moment Earth rejected assimilation, the Dominion's fleet began its slow, ominous advance. The skies above Mars darkened as the capital ships adjusted their formation, their massive energy signatures flaring to life. Weapons systems powered up. Shields activated. Admiral Elias Carter, watching from the United Earth Defense Command Center, stood resolute. He had known this moment would come. For decades, Earth had suspected it was not alone in the cosmos. Now, those suspicions had become reality. But humanity would not go down without a fight. The first strike. The Dominion fleet did not attack immediately. They moved with a slow, predatory patience, testing Earth's resolve. Probe ships detached from the capital vessels, sleek and insect-like, swarming toward Earth's outermost defense platforms, stationed around the moon. "Status on our defense grid?" Carter asked, turning to Colonel Vasquez. "Planetary shields are at 87% efficiency," she responded. "Relevant platforms are online. Project Aegis is fully operational." Carter nodded. "Then let's introduce our guests to Earth's hospitality. Fire at will." From hidden installations across Earth's orbit, the first shots of the war were fired. Railguns, ancient technology by Dominion standards, roared to life, launching tungsten slugs at near-relativistic speeds. The projectiles streaked through space, glowing with friction, and punched through the Dominion probe ships like paper. The aliens had never seen kinetic weapons used with such brutal efficiency. Their shields, designed to counter energy-based attacks, were nearly useless against raw physics. One by one, their scout ships were torn apart. Within moments, the first battle for Earth had begun. The Dominion's response. On board the Dominion command vessel, Ambassador Ralzek watched the destruction of his probes with mild amusement. "Primitive weapons," he murmured, "yet effective." His second-in-command, Overseer Tazir, was less amused. The massive reptilian alien bared his fangs, his armored tail swishing in irritation. "They dare resist us," he growled. Ralzek simply smiled. "Oh, my dear Tazir, resistance is what makes conquest so much more enjoyable. Let them struggle. Let them believe they stand a chance." He gestured toward the main battle screen. "Deploy the second wave." Earth's hidden strength. As Dominion warships prepared to strike, Earth's secret weapons were already in motion. For decades, Earth's military-industrial complex had worked in secret to prepare for the inevitable, the moment they would no longer be alone. The biggest mistake any alien species could make was assuming that humanity was weak. While the Dominion had been advancing technologically for millennia, they had also stagnated. They had developed one method of warfare, one standardized system of attack and defense. Humanity was different. From old nuclear silos hidden beneath mountains to deep space stealth ships, using advanced cloaking technology, Earth's defense forces were built on versatility, adaptability, and raw unpredictability. On the surface of the Moon, the first phase of Project Aegis was activated. Giant railgun batteries, hidden within craters for decades, unleashed a devastating salvo. Dominion battleships, moving into range, were struck by hypervelocity slugs that pierced their armor like a hot knife through butter. Aboard the UEDC command center, Carter clenched his fist. "They're bleeding," he muttered. But Vasquez, standing beside him, wasn't celebrating yet. "They're adapting," she warned. And she was right. The Empire's counterattack. The first Dominion ships fell quickly, too quickly. But Ralzek was no fool. He had underestimated Earth's defenses, and he would not make that mistake again. "Rotate shield frequencies," he ordered coolly. "Switch to adaptive energy dispersion." The next wave of Dominion warships engaged their new shield harmonics, nullifying Earth's railgun salvos before they could strike. The once vulnerable warships now advanced untouched, their massive plasma cannons charging up. Then they fired. The first plasma barrage struck the lunar defense grid, melting entire sections of the Moon's surface. Defense platforms were incinerated in seconds, reduced to nothing but floating debris. On Earth, cities went dark as electromagnetic shockwaves disrupted satellite communications. Entire power grids flickered and panic spread like wildfire. At the White Sands military base in New Mexico, General Samuel Takeda barked orders to his engineers. "Get those backup generators online." We knew they'd cut our main grid. Across the world, humanity's fallback systems activated, old, redundant technologies that the Dominion hadn't even considered. Shortwave radio networks reestablished communications, hidden geothermal power plants kept critical systems running, and fiber optic backups restored the digital infrastructure. The Dominion had believed that taking out Earth's satellites would cripple them. They were wrong. The first blow to the Empire. Back in orbit, the Dominion warships prepared for a final push. But that was when Earth struck back. "Launch Hellfire units," Carter ordered. From hidden silos deep in the Pacific Ocean, Earth's most advanced weaponry, stealth missiles equipped with fusion warheads, fired into space. They moved fast. Too fast. The Dominion ships, designed to track large-scale energy weapons, could not detect them in time. The first missile hit an enemy warship's engine core. A chain reaction tore through the vessel, ripping it apart. The second missile struck the Dominion flagship's shielding array, leaving it vulnerable to follow-up attacks. For the first time in centuries, The Galactic Dominion lost a fleet battle. The realization sent a ripple of unease through their command ranks. Ralzek's smug confidence faded. "This wasn't supposed to happen," he whispered. Overseer Tazir, his reptilian second-in-command, bared his teeth in rage. "What are they?" he growled. "What kind of primitives fight like this?" Ralzek had no answer. But deep inside, for the first time, he felt something unfamiliar. A cold, creeping sensation he had never experienced before. Fear. Earth's defiant message. As the first battle concluded, a single transmission was broadcast across all Dominion channels. Admiral Carter, standing tall in his uniform, stared into the camera with unshakable resolve. "This is Earth's message to the Dominion," he declared. "We are not your subjects. We are not your slaves. And if you think we are weak, come and find out." The message was sent. The challenge was issued. The Dominion had expected submission. Instead, they had awoken a monster, and humanity was just getting started. The fire of resistance. The Dominion had come expecting an easy victory. They had seen Earth as an insignificant primitive world, ripe for conquest, weak in the face of superior technology. Now their first wave of warships lay in ruin, burning in orbit, shattered by human ingenuity and sheer defiance. But the Dominion was not finished. They never were. As Earth's defenders regrouped, patching up their battered planetary defenses, the second wave of Dominion forces emerged from the darkness beyond Neptune. This time, there was no slow approach, no diplomatic pleasantries. This was war. The Dominion's new strategy. Ambassador Ralzek stood on the bridge of the Dominion's second flagship, the Sovereign Wrath. His black eyes gleamed with frustration as he watched the wreckage of their first fleet drifting through space. "Human adaptability is proving inconvenient," he admitted. Beside him, Overseer Tazir, the reptilian war commander, snarled. "You were too gentle, Ralzek. You underestimated them. These creatures do not understand power until it grinds them into dust." Ralzek exhaled slowly. He despised brute force. Conquest should be elegant, efficient. Yet Earth had forced them into a position where subtlety was no longer an option. "Deploy the siege breakers," he ordered coldly. "This world will burn. A world prepares for hell." On Earth, the United Earth Defense Command scrambled as new energy signatures appeared on their deep space scanners. "Confirmed incoming," Colonel Vasquez reported grimly. At least 50 new warships, all classified as Dominion siege breakers. They're larger than anything we've faced before. Admiral Carter clenched his jaw. "What do we know about these ships?" Lieutenant Marcus Hale, Earth's cyber defense expert, worked furiously at his station, sifting through Dominion battle data. "They specialize in planetary bombardment. Their plasma arrays can melt through city defenses in seconds. If they reach low orbit, they'll turn our cities into craters." The war room fell silent. They had repelled the first wave, but that was a skirmish. Now, the real battle was beginning. Carter turned to Vasquez. "Mobilize all remaining orbital defenses. Bring every combat-ready ship we have to the front." And he hesitated, then exhaled. "Activate Project Revenant." A murmur spread across the command staff. "Sir," Vasquez asked, "are we sure we want to deploy that?" Carter met her gaze. "We don't have a choice." She nodded grimly. "I'll give the order." Earth's secret weapon, Project Revenant. Deep beneath the Arctic ice, in a classified military installation, a group of scientists and engineers gathered around a massive reinforced hangar. Inside it stood Earth's last desperate gamble, a weapon the world had never seen before. Project Revenant. At first glance, it looked like a starship, but it was far more than that. It was a weaponized behemoth, a ship designed not just to fight but to adapt, learn, and evolve mid-battle. Dr. Linda Holt, lead scientist on the project, wiped sweat from her brow as she stared at the massive machine before her. "God help us all," she whispered. "Activate it." With a roar, Revenant's engines came to life. In the skies above Earth, the Dominion's siege breakers descended, only to be met by something they had never seen before. The sky burns. The first blasts of the Dominion's attack came like the opening of hell itself. Plasma lances streaked through the atmosphere, carving fiery trails into the clouds. Cities scrambled to activate localized shields, but some were too slow. Entire districts vanished in blinding explosions. In response, Earth's hidden railgun platforms unleashed a deadly counterattack. Rounds the size of trucks tore through the sky, shattering Dominion warships with pinpoint precision. But for every ship destroyed, 3 more took its place. The Dominion was pressing harder. Then, Earth struck back with Revenant. The behemoth starship burst through the atmosphere like a rising phoenix. It was unlike anything the Dominion had ever faced. Instead of a standard warship, Revenant was a self-learning, AI-powered battleship. It watched, it analyzed, and it adapted. Dominion warships targeted it with their plasma arrays, but the moment their weapons locked onto it, Revenant altered its shields, phase-shifting its armor to absorb the impact. Then it fired, and the sky turned white with energy. The tide turns. The first siege breaker never saw it coming. A pulse wave cannon, a weapon Earth had been developing in complete secrecy, tore through its hull, bypassing its shields entirely. The ship's power core went critical in seconds, and it exploded in a blinding inferno. The second siege breaker tried to retreat, only for Revenant to jump behind it using a prototype teleportation drive. Before the Dominion ship could react, its engines were gone, severed from its body by a precision energy blade fired from Revenant's hull. In the span of 4 minutes, Revenant had done what an entire fleet couldn't. It had turned the battle. From Earth's ground defenses, human soldiers and civilians alike watched in awe. For the first time, they saw hope. "We can win this," Carter murmured. But deep in his gut, he knew something wasn't right. The Empire's trump card. Aboard the Sovereign Wrath, Ralzek observed the destruction of his siege breakers in silence. Then he smiled. "Fascinating," he mused. "They built a ship capable of learning mid-battle. How? Human." Overseer Tezir slammed a fist against the console. "Enough games," he roared. "Deploy the annihilator." For the first time, Ralzek nodded. "Yes, it is time." The command was given. From the shadows of Jupiter's orbit, something massive emerged. A single ship. But it was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. A city-sized dreadnought, its hull made of living metal. Its name was whispered in terror across the stars. The Annihilator. It was not just a ship, it was a world killer. And it was coming for Earth. Humanity's last stand begins. As Revenant returned to Earth's upper atmosphere, scanning for new threats, an alert rang through its systems. Something was approaching, something bigger than anything they had encountered before. Admiral Carter's heart pounded as he saw the data. The size, the power levels. "My God," he whispered. "What the hell is that?" Dr. Holt's voice came through the comms, shaken. That's a super dreadnought. If it reaches Earth, it can wipe out the planet." The war had only just begun. Now, it was a fight for survival, and Earth was running out of time.